After ignoring me for 8 years, my stepdaughter suddenly got sweet, then publicly demanded $50,000 for her wedding. I exposed her, and she cut my husband out of her future kids' lives. Hey everyone, I'm a 44-year-old woman named Marie, and I've been hitched to my husband Tom, who's 48, for about 8 years now. Tom's got a daughter, Sinra, who's 24 from his earlier marriage. Just to give you a bit of background, Sinra never really accepted me as part of the family. When Tom and I first started seeing each other, Sinra was just 16, and she made it quite clear that she wasn't interested in having anything to do with me. I totally got it, though, because divorce can be tough on kids. So, I tried to keep my distance while still being nice when we crossed paths. Over the years, I've made an effort to be there for her. I showed up at her high school graduation, went to her college events, celebrated her birthdays, brought thoughtful gifts, and even tried to talk about stuff she likes. But she'd barely acknowledge that I was there, often walking out of rooms when I came in or talking over me if I tried to join a conversation. Tom would gently remind her to be polite now and then, but I always told him not to push it. I figured she'd warm up to me when she was ready. As for her mom, Julie, she's 46, we get along fine. We're not exactly friends, but we can be civil when we're in the same place. Then, about 2 months ago, Sinra started being all nice to me, which was totally unexpected. She started texting me funny memes, asking about how work was going, and even invited me out for lunch, just the two of us. I was on cloud 9. After all those years, it felt like we were finally turning a corner. Tom was over the moon about it too. Last weekend, we went to her engagement party. Her fiancé, Jake, who's 26, seems like a cool guy. The party was held at a restaurant with about 40 guests. Halfway through, Sinra stood up to make a speech. She thanked everyone for being there, talked a bit about Jake, and then turned her attention to Tom and me. She said something along the lines of, "I want to thank my dad and Marie for being here. Marie, we've had our differences, but I've enjoyed getting to know you these past few weeks. You've shown me what it means to be generous and caring." I was getting all emotional, thinking this was a major breakthrough moment for us. But then she went on, "Which is why I know you'll be happy to help make my dream wedding come true. Dad mentioned that you inherited some money from your mom's estate last year, and since you don't have kids of your own, I thought you'd want to contribute to your stepdaughter's special day. The venue we want costs $50,000 for the whole package." The room went dead silent, and all I could think was that the past 2 months had been a setup to get at my inheritance. My mom had left me about $200,000 when she passed away last year. I stood up and said, "So, the past 2 months were just an act? You were only being nice to me for my money?" Sinra rolled her eyes and replied, "It's not fake to be nice to family when you need help. That's what families do." I shot back, "Family? You've treated me like an outsider for 8 years, and now, all of a sudden, I'm family because I have something you want?" I grabbed my purse and stormed out. Tom ran after me, clearly embarrassed, and said we should go back in and deal with it quietly. But I was too upset and just headed home. Since then, Sinra's been texting me, calling me selfish and dramatic. Julie also texted, saying I embarrassed Sinra at her own party. Tom is on my side, but he thinks we could have handled it differently instead of causing a scene. Some people on social media have shared their opinions too. One person commented, "NTA, the nerve of her to publicly pressure you into funding a $50,000 wedding after treating you poorly for nearly a decade is shocking. She thought you wouldn't dare say no in front of everyone." I replied, what hurt the most was her using the public setting as leverage. She knew exactly what she was doing. Another person asked, "Did your husband know about your inheritance? Did he ever talk about it with Sinra?" I replied, "Yes, Tom knew about the inheritance. We're transparent about our finances. He mentioned it in passing when Sinra complained about wedding costs, but swears he never suggested I'd pay for anything. He was just trying to be sympathetic about how expensive weddings are these days. I trust him on that. Someone else was curious about what kind of nice things Sinra was doing during those 2 months. I explained that it was all surface-level stuff, like sending TikToks, asking how my day was, complimenting my outfit. During the lunch we had, she mostly talked about wedding plans, and even asked my opinion on centerpieces, acting like she valued my input. I thought we were bonding over wedding planning since I love event design, but now I see she was just setting the stage. Another comment said, "Eesh, she sucks for obvious reasons, but you could have just said, 'We'll discuss this privately later,' and avoided the dramatic exit. You sank to her level by making a scene at her engagement party." I replied, "Maybe you're right. I was just so shocked and hurt in the moment." 8 years of being shut out, followed by 2 months of fake friendship just to get money, my late mother left me. I couldn't pretend everything was fine, but I do wonder if I should have kept it together for Tom's sake. Here's an update for those who've been following along. Since the engagement party fiasco, things have really blown up. Julie, Tom's ex, has been constantly messaging me. At first, it was just texts telling me to apologize for ruining Sinra's big moment, but I ignored them, hoping she'd calm down. Then, yesterday, she showed up at my house while Tom was away. She launched into this speech about how I've always been jealous of her relationship with Tom and accused me of punishing Sinra for maintaining their family dynamic. She said that Sinra was trying to include me, and I threw it back in her face. I tried to remain calm and told her, "Julie, Sinra ignored me for 8 years and only became my best friend when she found out about my inheritance. That's manipulative." Julie shot back with, "She's a kid who's been through a lot. Her parents divorced. Her dad remarried someone who was trying to replace me. Of course, she was guarded. And when she finally tries to open up, you go and attack her. So here's the deal. SRA is 24 now, definitely not a kid anymore, and I genuinely never had any intention of taking anyone's place. All I ever wanted was just a little basic respect, you know? But then Julie came around, telling me that I'm way too sensitive and that Sinra, her daughter, was just being strategic about her wedding plans, like any smart bride would be. Julie actually used the word strategic as if it was something positive. At that point, I told Julie she had to leave, or I was going to call the cops. She did leave, but not before throwing in a parting shot, saying Tom would eventually see the real me, and that I couldn't keep a father from his daughter. Tom, my husband, was beyond furious. He called Julie, told her to back off, and also had a chat with Sarah, letting her know that her mom's behavior wasn't okay. Sarah reacted by crying, claiming everyone was ganging up on her when all she wanted was help with her wedding. The manipulation in this family runs deep, and Tom is starting to get it. But it's a hard pill to swallow because, at the end of the day, Ciara is his daughter, and he loves her, despite all the drama. Even Jake, Sarah's fiancé, reached out to Tom. Apparently, Sarah's been spinning a tale that she's been trying to bond with me for years, and thought asking for help with the wedding would finally bring us closer. Jake seemed to buy her story, and wanted Tom to know how much Sarah was hurting. But then Tom set the record straight about what really went down and how Sarah's treated me. Jake seemed shocked. I don't think Sarah's been completely honest with him about our history. Tom and I have agreed not to pay for the wedding. Even though the guilt trips keep rolling in, we're standing firm on that. It's exhausting, honestly. Tom has been amazing through all this, but I can tell this is tearing him apart inside to be in conflict with his daughter. It breaks my heart to think that I'm causing this rift, though I know it's Sinra and Julie stirring the pot. One comment nailed it, pointing out how Sra's lying to her fiancé, which says a lot about her. If she didn't know her actions were wrong, why would she lie? Jake definitely needs to know he's marrying someone who can twist the truth to fit her narrative. Tom's most upset about this because he's always been upfront about the difficulty with Sarah accepting me. And now to hear she's been painting a different picture to Jake really makes him question what else she's been less than truthful about. Someone else asked about custody stuff, wondering how often Tom saw Sarah after the divorce. Tom had 50-50 custodies until Sarah turned 18. Then she decided to live with Julie full-time during her senior year of high school. But Tom never missed his time with her, not even sporting events or school stuff. Even when Sarah acted frosty towards us, he always showed up. After she turned 18, they'd have dinner maybe once a month, without me. But that turned into weekly dinners once she started college. I never tried to butt into their relationship and always pushed for them to stay close, never asking to be included when she clearly wasn't interested in having me around. In a bid to make things a little easier, I thought I might try another approach after reading suggestions from others that maybe I should have declined privately. It wasn't about being wrong, but I just couldn't stand seeing Tom in so much pain. So I texted Sarah, suggested we grab coffee and chat. To my surprise, she agreed. We met yesterday at a neutral spot. I started by apologizing for how everything went down at her bridal shower. I admitted I should have dealt with it more privately. I confessed I reacted emotionally because I was hurt. Sarah's response was blunt. She didn't accept my apology. When I asked why, she said I'd embarrassed her in front of everyone, and a private apology couldn't fix that. Plus, she thought I was just trying to make myself feel better, not because I was truly sorry. I took a moment, then asked if we could discuss the past couple of months, explaining how hurt I was, thinking we were finally building some kind of relationship. She actually laughed and told me she was being nice for my own good. Apparently, Dad had mentioned how much it upset me that we weren't close, so she decided to be friendly for a bit, thinking I'd feel included and jump at helping her with the wedding. To her, it was supposed to be a win-win situation. She figured if I felt like part of the family, I'd want to help out on her big day. But she said I turned it into something about me and my feelings. I pointed out how manipulative that sounded, but she just brushed it off, saying it was consideration. She believed she was considering my feelings by being nice to me and thought I should do the same by helping with the wedding. Talk about mental gymnastics. I explained that real relationships aren't just about transactions. She called me naive and said all relationships involve give and take. Then she hit me with an ultimatum. She wanted me to apologize publicly, either at a family dinner with her mom there or on social media so all her friends could see. If I did, she'd consider inviting me to the wedding. Otherwise, I wasn't welcome. I told her I'd think about it and left. When I told Tom, he was disgusted. He called Sarah immediately and told her she was being manipulative and cruel. She cried, saying he was choosing me over his own daughter, and warned he'd regret it when she has kids, and he's not part of their lives. But Tom stood firm, telling her he loved her, but wouldn't support this behavior. Sarah hung up on him. Then Julie texted, calling Tom a pathetic excuse for a father and predicting he'd die alone with his gold-digger wife. For the record, I make a good living and have never needed Tom's financial support. The irony of being called a gold digger while refusing to pay for someone else's extravagant wedding isn't lost on me. Tom's parents also called last night, saying Sarah had been crying to them about how we're excluding her and not supporting her marriage. We explained everything to them, and luckily, they're on our side. Tom's mom even said, "I love Sinra, but she's acting like a spoiled brat." Jake texted Tom, asking if there was any way to work that things out because all this drama with SRA was affecting their relationship. Tom filled him in on the whole story once more. And so I suggested to Jake that he should maybe have a chat with Sinra about what she's expecting out of all this. I'm standing my ground and not saying sorry in public for calling out behavior I find manipulative. Tom backs me up on this, but it's tough on him. I can see how heartbroken he is. Last night, he took this long walk and came back with eyes all red from tears. Watching him go through this pain over his relationship with his daughter is just heartbreaking. I'm honestly not sure what our next steps are. I really don't enjoy being stuck in the middle of this drama, but at the same time, I can't just let this behavior slide. Even though Tom says he's proud of me for holding my own, it's clear the emotional toll it's taking on him is heavy. One person asked if Jake's given any hint about how he's feeling about all this. Jake reaching out to Tom makes me think he's spotting some red flags too. According to Tom, Jake is pretty uneasy with how things are going, but seems to be trying to stay neutral. It looks like Jake might be starting to see a side of Sinra that's new to him. He's been peppering Tom with questions about how Sinra has acted toward me in the past. Tom's been upfront, only sharing the facts without bad-mouthing her. Jake didn't seem too happy with what he learned. Another person pointed out how using grandchildren as leverage is manipulation 101. They suggested keeping records in case it ever comes down to fighting for grandparents' rights for Tom, depending on our state laws. That idea about grandchildren really hit Tom hard. He's always hoped to be a granddad, and seeing it being used against him like this is another level of hurt. We're making sure to document everything, just in case it becomes necessary. Here's the thing that happened, which made me feel like I had to update again. After meeting at the coffee shop, there was about a week of silence. Tom and Sinra weren't talking, and it was tearing him up. He kept checking his phone, hoping for some sign she'd reach out. Eventually, Sinra began texting him. But it wasn't to mend things. It was just random complaints about me. Stuff like, "Remember when Marie wore white to my graduation party? So disrespectful." For the record, I wore a cream-colored sundress to an outdoor graduation party where most of the guests were wearing white or cream because, it was sweltering at 95 degrees. I really did try to build a relationship with teenage Sinra. I suggested shopping trips, movie outings, and made efforts to connect with her interests, but she pushed back against every effort. I never made her feel unwelcome. I gave her space and treated her with respect, which seemed to be what she wanted. Tom didn't reply to her messages at first, but they kept coming, each nastier than the last. Things like, "Marie probably can't have kids, and that's why she's jealous of me. You'll regret picking her over me when she leaves you for someone richer." That last one just shattered Tom. He called Sinra, clearly upset, and told her something along the lines of, "I'm not choosing Marie over you. I'm choosing respect and decency over manipulation and cruelty. You're my daughter, and I love you, but I don't like the person you've become. Marie has been nothing but kind to you for 8 years, and you've treated her like dirt. Now you're spreading lies about her and trying to poison our relationship. This isn't the daughter I raised." Sinra didn't take to hat well. She started accusing him of being brainwashed and said I've turned him against her. She mentioned that Julie was right about me all along, but didn't clarify further. Then she told Tom he was dead to her and that her future kids would never know his name. Tom ended the call. I found him just sitting in our bedroom, staring blankly at the wall, crushed. I held him close while he cried, a 48-year-old man who barely cries, just breaking down. But things got uglier. Sinra went off on social media, posting a long rant about toxic parents choosing new families over their kids and how she's ending generational trauma. Even though she didn't name us, it was obvious to anyone in the know who she meant. This post stirred up calls from Tom's sister and some of his friends, curious about what was going on. The way Sinra painted it, you'd think Tom abandoned her without any mention of her own actions. Jake called Tom that night, and that conversation was something else. Jake has been trying to see things from Sinra's point of view, but is struggling because her story keeps changing. At one time, I was mean to her for years. Next, I was cold and distant. Now I'm apparently controlling and manipulative. Jake asked Tom straight up if I'd ever actually done something mean to Sinra. Tom was truthful and said, "No, I've only ever been nice and respectful." Jake took a long pause, then said he needed to mull over some things. The next day, Sinra called Tom in a rage, claiming he'd turn Jake against her, and if they split, it would be on us. Apparently, Jake asked her to be specific about my alleged cruel behavior, and she couldn't come up with any examples. When cornered, she accused him of siding with us. Tom's parents are livid with Sinra. They've tried to get in touch with her, but she's ignoring them. Tom's mom is deeply hurt. Sinra was her first grandchild, and they used to be close. I feel a lot of guilt. Logically, I know this isn't my fault, but I can't help feeling I'm somehow to blame for Tom's pain. Despite his constant reassurances, I see how much this situation is tearing him apart. Then there's Julie, who's been pestering us non-stop. She sometimes drives by our house, which our Ring camera catches. She sent Tom emails calling him a failure as a dad. We're thinking about a restraining order, but Tom's hesitant, fearing it'll eliminate any possibility of re-establishing a relationship with Sinra. But honestly, I don't think Sinra's interested in reconciliation. I think she's looking for submission, and that's something neither Tom nor I are willing to give her. One commenter said Jake is recognizing the red flags. The fact that Sinra's stories keep changing and she can't produce any concrete instances speaks volumes. This might be the reality check Sinra needs, or she might just dig her heels in and risk losing Jake too. I feel sorry for Jake, honestly. He seems like a good guy who's slowly realizing that the person he's engaged to might not be who he thought she was. Tom commended him for asking tough questions instead of blindly accepting Sinra's narrative. Another person was curious about what Sinra was like before the divorce, wondering if she's always been manipulative or if this is something new. Hey everyone, here's the update. You know, according to Tom, Sinra was one of those sweet kids but with a real knack for being super stubborn. When the divorce hit when she was just 12, it was a pretty rough patch for her. On top of that, Julie was apparently bad-mouthing Tom during the whole ordeal. Tom only found this out much later when he stumbled across Sinra's teenage diary that she had left at his place. By the time I entered the picture when Sinra was 16, she was already kind of set to dislike any woman who Tom dated. It seems like her manipulation has become more pronounced as she's grown older, or maybe she's just not even trying to hide it anymore. So here's update 4, and I'm thinking this might be the last. I really appreciate everyone who's been following along and offering their support. Just a couple of days ago, out of the blue, Sinra showed up at our place. It was just Tom and me at home when the doorbell rang. There she was, with tears in her eyes, asking if they could have a chat. Tom invited her in and called for me to join them. But Sinra acted like I was invisible, saying she wanted to talk to her dad alone. Tom, standing firm, said, "Marie is my wife, and she's part of this conversation." Sinra just kept pretending I wasn't there, speaking only to Tom and ignoring me completely, even talking over me when I tried to say something. She told Tom she missed him and wanted to mend things, mentioning that she'd been thinking a lot about how important family is. But here's the kicker. Her idea of patching things up was to have a relationship with Tom that completely excluded me. She suggested they have scheduled visits without my involvement, celebrate holidays without me, and keep any future grandkids from knowing I exist. Tom asked, "What about Marie? She's my wife and family too." Sinra replied, "She's your wife, not my family. I'm open to having a relationship with you, Dad, but that's all. Take it or leave it." Tom looked at me, then back at Sinra and said, "I can't accept that. Marie and I are a team, and I won't have a relationship that leaves her out." That's when Sinra's facade cracked. She snapped and said, So you're choosing her over me. Tom remained calm and said, I'm choosing not to enable this behavior. You don't have to like Marie, but you do need to respect her as my wife and show basic courtesy. That's the minimum I'll accept. Then Sinra stood up and said, Well, I guess we're done here. Don't expect a wedding invitation. Don't expect to meet your grandkids. You've made your choice. As she left, she finally looked at me with such hatred in her eyes. She said, I hope you're happy. You got what you wanted. You've successfully separated a father from his daughter. I managed to find my voice and said, Sinra, that's never what I wanted. I've only ever wanted to be treated with respect. She just laughed and said, Respect? You want respect? You're nothing to me. You'll always be nothing. Just the woman who destroyed my family. And then she was gone. After she left, Tom broke down. We just held each other and cried. He kept saying sorry for everything she said. I reassured him that none of this is his fault. While Jake might end up marrying Sinra, I don't think I want to update anymore. In my mind, this chapter closes here. Thanks so much for all your support through this roller coaster. Tom and I are focusing on our marriage and the loved ones who genuinely appreciate and respect us. It's not the ending we were hoping for, but it's the path Sinra chose. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoy hearing stories like mine, don't forget to subscribe. See you next time.